Hello friends, this video on chemical coordination and integration part 13 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Let us look at the next endocrine gland, that is the adrenal gland. So let us see where are these glands located. As I had mentioned before, they are located just above the kidney. Now there are two kidneys in our body, so these lungs also exist in pairs, one above each kidney. So they are present above each kidney somewhat like this. So here you can see the red colored structures are the kidney, and just above the kidneys you have two yellow colored structures, and they are the adrenal glands. So this is how they look like from a closure view of the adrenal gland. Now adrenal gland can be divided into two parts. So if you look at the structure of each adrenal gland, they have two parts. That is, this is how it looks from closer. So it has two parts, which are adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. So the outer portion is adrenal cortex and the inner portion is adrenal medulla. So these are the two parts of the adrenal gland. So let us look at the hormones which are secreted by the adrenal gland. So we'll talk about the two sections or two parts of the gland separately. So let us first talk about the hormones which are secreted by adrenal medulla. Now the hormones which the adrenal medulla secretes are adrenaline, noradrenaline. So what is adrenal? They are named after adrenal. So that is why adrenaline, which is also known as epinephrine. And the other one is noradrenaline, which is also known as norepinephrine. So these are the two hormones which are secreted by adrenal medulla. And these two hormones are often together known as catecholamines. Why are they called catecholamines? Because they are amines, they have amine groups in them, and they also have a catechol group attached to each of them. Now you might ask, what is a catechol group? Well, I will not get into the details of those because that is something related to your chemistry, like how you have say alkyl group and the carboxyl group. So in a very similar way, you have catechol group attached to the structures of these adrenaline and noradrenaline hormones, and that is why they are called catecholamines. These are also known as the emergency hormones or the hormones of fight. Why are they called emergency hormones? Because these hormones are very quickly secreted in case of stress of any type during emergency situations. For example, what kind of emergency situations are we talking about? For example, let us suppose that you are seeing something which is so very unbelievable, which looks so very unrealistic. You are watching a show where you see that somebody is, say, jumping on the fire or something of that sort, which is very unbelievable to you. What happens? Sometimes you tend to get goosebumps all over your body, right? What is that? The hairs on your skin tend to stand up, right? That is what we call as goosebumps. So why does that goosebump happen? So that goosebump happens due to the presence of these hormones. So these hormones makes the goosebumps possible. So these kind of situations are known as emergency situation, where suddenly you see something and suddenly your body feels something and you want to react to it. So those kind of emergency situations, these hormones are helpful, and that is why they are called emergency hormones or hormones of fight. So let us look at the function of these adrenal medulla hormones. They increase alertness, sweating, piloerection. So alertness means sometimes you would have seen that, let us suppose you are sleeping and suddenly you get the sound of somebody breaking the door of your house. If you get a sound like that, what happens? You tend to be alert, you tend to be cautious about what is happening. So what gives rise to that feeling of cautiousness inside your body? So that is due to the presence of these adrenaline hormones. Again, sometimes when you tend to get a lot of sweating or piloerection. Piloerection is what I was talking about just now. That is goosebumps. So when I say piloerection, it is basically erection of hair on the skin. And this erection happens due to the contraction of tiny erector muscles called pylorem muscles just below your skin. That is why it is called piloerection. Now, it increases the rate of respiration and heartbeat during emergency situation to cope up with that situation. So, you would have seen that sometimes when somebody is very afraid of something, suddenly you see something and you get very afraid. What happens? You tend to breathe fast so that you are able to provide more oxygen to different cells of your body. So that ways, in order to cope up with that situation, these kind of behaviors which help you to handle the emergency situations are controlled by the adrenal medulla hormones. Stimulate breakdown of glycogen, lipids and proteins. So breakdown of these complex substances into their simple forms. Now, it is not only one hormone which actually helps in this process of breakdown of complex into simple. So a lot of hormones contribute to this process, and as a result of that, the process actually takes place. Now let us look at the hormones secreted by the adrenal cortex. Now the hormones which they secrete are called corticoids. Obviously, it is derived from the word cortex, that is why it is called corticoids. Now, these corticoids can be of several types. For example, those corticoids which, depending upon their function, they have been categorized into many different types. For example, those corticoids which help in carbohydrate metabolism, they are called glucocorticoids. Again, those corticoids which help in absorbing water, minerals and electrolytes are called mineralocorticoids. So that means they can be of many different types. So let us look at the function of the corticoids. It helps in carbohydrate metabolism, and those corticoids which help in carbohydrate metabolism are called glucocorticoids, because carbohydrate is related to the word glucose. So that is why they are called glucocorticoids. And one example of glucocorticoid would be cortisol. So cortisol is an example of glucocorticoid which helps in carbohydrate metabolism. It also helps to maintain the water and electrolyte balance in the body, and these kind of corticoids are called mineralocorticoids. Mineralocorticoids. And an example of a mineralocorticoid would be the aldosterone. So aldosterone is a hormone which is an example of mineralocorticoid because of its specific function. Stimulates gluconeogenesis, lipolysis and proteolysis. So here also you see lysis means to break down something. So breakdown of lipids, breakdown of proteins, breakdown of the carbohydrates, it participates in all these also. And which particular type of corticoids does this function? The glucocorticoids. Maintain cardiovascular system. That is the heart and the blood vessels. They all refer to the cardiovascular system. So how does it help to maintain the which type of corticoids help to maintain the cardiovascular system? It is basically the cortisols. Stimulate RBC production, that is, it helps to produce more and more RBCs. So cortisols also participate in stimulating the production of more and more RBCs. Acts at renal tubules. You remember renal tubules? Where do we have the renal tubules? In the nephron, the kidneys, the excretory system, right? So what does the renal tubule do in the excretory system? It helps in reabsorption of water, reabsorption of ions. That happens in the renal tubule, right? So this aldosterone, which I was talking about just now, the mineralocorticoid. So these type of hormones actually stimulates reabsorption of sodium ions and water, and also excretion of phosphate ions in the renal tubule. So that is how it plays an important role in the reabsorption thing which takes place at the renal tubules. So these are some of the important functions of the corticoids which are produced by the adrenal cortex. So we see that the adrenal gland also produces very important hormones which actually help to control a lot of things in our body. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.